everyone, I'm MrEliMac and welcome back to Pitch This here on the channel. This is the show where I pitch a movie or television show idea that I would love to see get made. And before I get into this idea, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps this video get out to more people, and I'd love for this video to find people and grow the fan base, as you all know. Also, hit the notification bell, that way you can be notified whenever a new video like this goes live. So, it's time for the second installment of the Defenders of the Earth franchise, and last week it all started with Lee Falk's The Phantom, and so now I'm going to be moving forward with another Lee Falk character. This week, we're going into the realm of magic and sorcery and wizardry, as we go also into a realm where abracadabra is more than just a fancy word. This week, I will be pitching a film adaptation of Mandrake the Magician. And look, I know a majority of the audience doesn't know who Mandrake is, but I'm hoping that this video will help people know him better. And unlike The Phantom, Mandrake has never been adapted to the silver screen, so I hope that this will be a good enough pitch to want to see this character in a movie. So, without further ado, let's get into the pitch for Lee Falk's Mandrake the Magician. And so a man with long black hair and a hood covering his face walks into a room. He reaches up to a heavy door that has multiple runes adorning it. So he keeps his hand up and he causes the runes to glow. Multiple mechanisms move around the door, causing it to slowly open. And once it is fully open, the man walks into the room to see a shining, clear cube. He removes his hood to show his full face. And the man reaches out, but a beam of magic shoots him from the side. The man hits the wall and falls to the ground. He turns and sees an old man standing in front of the cube. The old man tells Lucifer that he is not allowed to wield the power of the crystal cube. Lucifer stands up and stares at the old man. He tells the old man that the cubes possess more power than the old man can ever understand. Lucifer refers to the old man as Theron. Theron tells Lucifer that the cube cannot be used for evil, but Lucifer tells Theron that he simply wants to bring the person that created these cubes to Earth. And Lucifer lifts his hand and casts a spell at Theron. And Theron deflects the spell, and the two have a wizard's battle where magic is thrown at each other and they're able to deflect and block and shoot more and more and more. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Lucifer is able to push Theron out of the room with his magic. And Lucifer walks over and grabs the cube and teleports out of the building. Theron looks up at the mantle and says that they're going to need a lot of help. And so we cut to a massive stage. There is not an empty seat in the theater, and the curtains slowly open as the house lights start to dim down. The audience applauds as a man in a three-piece suit and a top hat walks to the center of the stage. He pulls out a wand and smiles at the audience. He greets the audience and introduces himself as Mandrake the Magician. He presents the audience with the greatest magic show that they will ever remember. And once his performance is done, he takes a bow to the audience and walks backstage. And when he gets to the backstage area, he takes off his top hat and waves it in front of his face, trying to cool himself down. He walks to his dressing room and places the hat on a table. As he sits there, a large man opens the door and enters the room and gives him a nice clap. Mandrake turns around and smiles. He greets his friend with his name, Lothar. Mandrake stands up and hugs him. Lothar tells him that the show was good tonight, but he finds it funny that Mandrake would use his magic for cheap parlor tricks. And Mandrake chuckles and mentions that the world doesn't believe in any of it anyway, so it's better to get paid for his wizardry than to do nothing at all with it. Lothar chuckles and tells him that the next show will be in 2 weeks. He tells Mandrake that he can finally have some time to relax and clear his head, and Mandrake asks Lothar what he's going to do. And Lothar simply replies that he's going to be trying to make sure that the next show is even going to happen next week. And Mandrake chuckles again and comments that Lothar left his chance to become a king to become a magician's manager. And Lothar replies back with saying that he's not a magician's manager. He's just the one to make sure that Mandrake doesn't get into any trouble. And Lothar leaves Mandrake alone to his own devices. Mandrake turns and looks into the mirror. And as he looks into the mirror, he starts to notice that a face is starting to appear inside of it. But it's not his face. No, it's a different face. And he sees that the face is actually of Theron. He stands up straight and greets his mentor. Theron tells Mandrake that the time has finally come. Mandrake looks down and nods with hesitance. He takes a deep breath and looks back at the door. And he walks over to it and he opens it and he sees Lothar talking to a stagehand. Mandrake gets Lothar's attention and Lothar is able to look over at him after finishing his conversation with the stagehand. And Mandrake tells him that it's time. Lothar nods and walks into Mandrake's dressing room. And so Mandrake and Lothar stand in front of the mirror and finish listening to what Theron talks about and how it's about the stealing of the crystal cube. Theron tells them that they need to get back to Xanadu. Mandrake looks at Lothar and asks if he's willing to go back. Lothar smiles and tells Mandrake that it looks like vacation is cancelled. Mandrake nods and waves his hand in front of the mirror. And slowly a portal starts to open from the mirror. Mandrake and Lothar walk through the portal and arrive in the magical world of Xanadu. Mandrake and Lothar walk through the city of Xanadu and reach the most prestigious building of all, Collegium Magicus, or the College of Magic. When they enter, they see multiple students learn the different facets of magic and see many old friends, now teachers. And after a few minutes, Mandrake and Lothar are greeted by Theron, and so Theron leads them to his chambers. And in the chamber, Theron shows Mandrake and Lothar the chamber that had the crystal cube. And Theron tells them that it was a shock to many that it was Lucifer that stole the crystal cube. Mandrake asks if Lucifer had any accomplices, but another voice answers no to the question. Mandrake looks over behind him and sees his old love, Narda. Lothar looks over to Mandrake and bumps him. Mandrake greets Narda, but Narda ignores that and continues with the information she has on Lucifer. Mandrake asks if the second crystal cube has been breached. Theron says no, but it's safe to assume that Lucifer will be going after the second one next. Lothar says that Mandrake and himself will go to the second cube and protect it, but Narda disagrees and suggests that she should send a team to protect it. Mandrake looks over to her and asks her what are Lothar and himself supposed to do. Theron states that they are meant to search for Lucifer. Mandrake and Lothar look at each other and reluctantly agree. Theron states that the most recent sighting of Lucifer was in Essex, England. Mandrake and Lothar agree with this and exit the chamber. Lothar mentions to Mandrake as they're leaving that he noticed that there are some sparks still there between him and Narda. But Mandrake states that there's nothing there anymore. That is just something from the past. And it was something that Narda made sure of. Lothar chuckles a bit as the two continue towards the teleportation room. And so when they reach the teleportation room, they see their former mentor, Hojo. Mandrake greets him with a hug and Lothar shakes his hand. And the handshake is long as the two are testing their strength against each other. The two laugh as Lothar tells Hojo that he's still pretty strong, and Hojo mentions that Lothar is getting close to reaching his strength. Hojo creates a teleportation portal and tells them both to be safe. Mandrake asks if he's going with Narda, and Hojo responds with yes. Mandrake pats Hojo on the shoulder and tells him to be careful as well. And so Mandrake and Lothar teleport to Essex and start searching for Lucifer. And as they are searching, they meet a police officer named Inspector Bradley. And with Bradley's help, they are able to find Lucifer. Mandrake and Lothar greet Lucifer and Lucifer tells them that they don't realize what the crystal cubes are capable of. He shows them the crystal cube that he had stolen. Mandrake and Lothar slowly ready themselves, and all three begin to have a big old wizard fight. And so it's hard to describe what's actually happening in this fight because it's just magic being thrown at each other. But ultimately, near the end of the fight, Lucifer injures Inspector Bradley, and this causes Mandrake and Lothar to stop their fighting and help Bradley out of the building. Lucifer takes the cube and tells Mandrake to join him, but Mandrake ignores him and continues to help Bradley. Lucifer scoffs and teleports away, and Mandrake and Lothar are able to help Bradley get back some consciousness and to fix the wound that he has. Mandrake and Lothar get into communication with Theron about Lucifer, and they tell him to get ready for Lucifer to arrive. Theron relays that message to Narda and tells her to get ready as well. Narda informs her team of Hojo and Alina to be prepared for Lucifer. All three get ready to fight Lucifer, but all the lights go out in the chamber. Lucifer's voice echoes, and he tells them that they should join him. He tells them that the cubes open a portal to a higher power. Narda and Hojo try to look around to find the origin of the voice, but Lothar continues to talk and tells them that it's funny that they try to protect something that doesn't care about them. The higher power will care about them, though. The higher power will help them, just like it will help her. Narda and Hojo look around confused as a beam of magic hits Hojo in the back. Narda looks and notices Alina with magic residue in her hand. She smiles as Lucifer stands next to her. The two battle Narda as she's able to hold them off for a few seconds. However, they are able to beat her down and they are able to obtain the final crystal cube. The two teleport away, leaving Hojo and Narda injured. Mandrake and Lothar quickly return to Xanadu and seeing people run towards the second cube tower. And both of them run as fast as possible to the tower, and the moment they reach the tower, they see Narda and Hojo being carried out to the infirmary. They run up to Theron and try to speak to him, but Theron tells them that it's too late. Mandrake tries to say that it's possible to stop Lucifer, but Theron tells them that they have the cubes. Lucifer will end everything, and it's still too late. Theron leaves with Mandrake and Lothar standing alone. And so we cut to Lucifer and Alina as the two set up the cubes and begin casting a spell. Lucifer looks over at Alina and tells her that the higher power will greet them and bestow them with grand powers. And when that happens, all of this world will know the majesty of this power. Alina smiles as the spell continues to activate the cubes. And then we cut back to Mandrake and Lothar, and Mandrake tells Lothar that there must be a way to find Lucifer. Lothar asks if he knew Lucifer as a child, and Mandrake says yes, and tells Lothar that when they were kids, they used to create their own tower to practice their magic, but Theron would always discover where they were via a soul spell. And then, when he says that, Mandrake quickly stands up and whispers, "A soul spell." And so Mandrake runs out of the room with Lothar following. And Mandrake reaches the library of spells and pulls out a book. And he quickly flips through it and finds the soul spell. He points it out to Lothar, and he tells him that this spell was the spell that Theron would use to find them, and there was always a catch, though. It would be taxing to the body because it's all about finding a soul. So Lothar says that it's a bad idea. But Mandrake says it's the only one they have. It's the only idea that they have. So Lothar nods and Mandrake casts the spell to find Lucifer. And Mandrake stumbles to the ground after finishing casting it. Lothar carries him to the teleportation chamber after Mandrake tells him that he has found Lucifer. And once they are in the teleportation chamber, Theron is able to reach them and tells them that they won't be able to stop both of them. Mandrake tells Theron that it doesn't matter, that they need to try. Theron sighs and creates a portal for them. He tells Mandrake that he must conserve his strength, and he wishes them both luck. Mandrake stands up straight, and he nods, and he and Lothar teleport to Lucifer's tower. And when they reach Lucifer and Alina, Mandrake tells them that they don't have to do this, but Lucifer tells him that the higher power needs to greet this world. Xanadu will fall, and this power will create a new breed of magic. After hearing all this, Mandrake tells Lucifer that it will destroy the planet, and Lucifer chuckles and just tells him that a world must burn for innovation to take over. And after hearing this, Mandrake and Lothar battle against Lucifer and Alina. Lothar is able to beat Alina and knock her unconscious. Meanwhile, Mandrake and Lucifer continue the battle, but Lucifer is able to get the upper hand. Lothar gets into the fight, but Lucifer is able to hold him off. And after beating Lothar, Lucifer looks down at Mandrake and tells him that it's time for the higher power to arrive. Lucifer grabs Mandrake's head and shows him the portal. And through the portal, Mandrake sees an insignia of an 8-pointed star. Lucifer tells Mandrake that it's beautiful and that a new power will take over this world. He asks Mandrake if he has any last words, and Mandrake slowly pulls out a wand from his sleeves and says, "Abracadabra," and he uses his wand to destroy one of the cubes. The portal starts to close, and Lucifer runs up to it, screaming in anger. The portal closes, and Lucifer looks back at Mandrake. Red magic starts to circle in Lucifer's hands as he is ready to kill Mandrake, but Lothar, from out of nowhere, uses his super strength and pushes Lucifer out of the tower, causing him to fall to his death. Lothar runs up and checks on Mandrake, and Mandrake says that he's fine. So Lothar questions him about saying abracadabra, and Mandrake laughs as Lothar helps him up. And then we cut back to Xanadu after a few days as Hojo teaches students the art of making teleportation portals. Mandrake watches as Narda approaches him. She thanks him for saving Xanadu and the world. Mandrake tells her that he doesn't need thanks, but also tells her that it was great seeing her again. He starts to flirt a little with her, but Narda quickly shuts him down. However, the two hug, but it's a longer hug than Mandrake expected. She smiles and walks away from him. Mandrake walks back to Lothar, and Lothar chuckles and asks if Narda is feeling well. Mandrake says that he doesn't know and he can't wait to come back. Lothar says that it's time for his next show, and so Mandrake nods and quickly makes a 3-piece suit appear on his person, and he snaps his fingers as a top hat appears from nowhere. Lothar chuckles as the two teleport back to a theater. And so we get to the post-credit scene, and the ship from the portal floats as we enter a main chamber. A man in a metal mask tells his leader that another threshold has been broken. It's only a matter of time before they can reach the planet. And his leader looks forward and says, "Good." And that's how I would make Mandrake the Magician. And I think it was a really good idea, honestly. As someone that doesn't know a lot about this character, I think this was a pretty good story to at least make for a first film. And I made it a bit more British-based than American-based because I just wanted to have British actors play a lot of these characters. Except, of course, Lothar. He is very much American because it's Mike Coulter and my fan casting. Anyway, next week it is time for the final solo film of this franchise as I give a movie pitch for Flash Gordon. With all that being said, what were your thoughts on the pitch? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Were you indifferent to it? Whatever your thoughts, post them in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And also hit the notification bell, that way you'll be notified whenever a new video like this comes your way. So until next time, I've been MrEliMac, you have been the audience, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day.